What's up, Madridistas? Welcome to the Managing Madrid podcast. Kiyan Sobani here. Matt Wiltsey is joining me in about 45 seconds to break down Real Madrid's 2-1 loss to Real Betis at Benito Villamarin. A horrible performance. We will get to it. Unfortunately, this is not a great Saturday for Madridistas. Before we get started, of course, shout out to our presenting sponsors, Moji Mates. Go to moji-mates.com. Today we're rocking Jude and Vinny and Mbappe on the shirt. And I know it's not a great day to talk about Vinny and Jude and Mbappe, given what we just watched. And of course, Jude is not even on the field today. But having said that, we still love our players. We still love this club. And we love Moji Mates. So head on over to moji-mates.com and get your favorite Real Madrid player on a shirt. Get some swag. Get a hoodie. Get some shorts. Get some stickers. And you can also go all the way back to Alfredo Di Stefano if you want him on a shirt as well. So go to moji-mates.com and get your swag. Also, shout out to TAC Sports. TAFC Academy is a proud sponsor, and we are very proud to be working with them. They have the best facilities in all of Toronto, best coaching, best facilities, and they host our podcast once a year in Toronto. Go to tacsports.ca if you want to sign up your kids for footy clinics, basketball clinics, swimming camps. March break is coming up very soon, and you got summer coming up. You don't want to miss out, and make sure you get your kids signed up before spots fill up. tacsports.ca. We are going to set this podcast up with the voices of Ray Hudson and Derek Ray, and then we'll bring in the great Matt Wiltsey. Let's get to it.
Nice article in the Managing Madrid blog. Wonderful lads that do a great job there, and worth reading about that man there. Karim Benzema needs to rest, and the numbers reveal why.
Times ended up almost looking like a 6-3-1. Some very good writing about that on the Managing Madrid website. First great podcast as well. Of course, Fede Valverde was a huge part of the equation.
Welcome, everyone, to tonight's therapy session. This is therapy session number 76 of the 2024-2025 season. And yes, I have been keeping track of all the therapy sessions. Matt Wiltsey is supposed to be here, but he just cut out for a second. So while Matt figures out his connection, I will just tell you that, my dad gives his analysis every game. He texts me throughout the game and then gives me a comment after the game. And he said a bunch of things about Real Madrid's performance, which were not not flattering. But he also said, that was a strange performance. And I would agree, because it was not even just that we were bad tactically and we were bad individually, we were bad collectively, but also the body language was completely off. So I don't know what was going on. There wasn't a single thing that I came away with okay, well, that was kind of good. I mean, Courtois had an unbelievable save in the first half to prevent it from being 2-1 before halftime. We had a lineup which in part was put together because of necessity. You didn't have Dani Ceballos. You don't have Jude Bellingham, who's suspended. Fede Valverde is still not 100% to play this game. You had Raul Asensio, who is your best center back all season, on the bench. I didn't really understand what was going on there, and didn't get a lick, while your other center backs looked like they needed oxygen masks tonight. Rudiger couldn't run in transition. I don't know what was going on with him. Both him and Alaba are bandaged up. When you had the subs come in with Camavinga and Goulet coming in, and then Tchouaméni shifting to center back, which I guess was a solution that Carlo had to save his sub, I guess, and keep Tchouaméni on the field. Tchouaméni was just cooked by Cucho when he shifted to center back. Not great. And this is concerning because we were theorizing, how does this look without Dani Ceballos, right? And I said, look, Luka Modric can help with your ball progression. He doesn't have the legs defensively to cover the ground that Ceballos covered. And so you need to piece together the defense from Tchouaméni and Camavinga and Maybe Mendy plays because obviously he's not going to enter the final third. Shout out to Mendy, who had his first final third appearance since 2004. And then maybe you can piece it together with Jude, flying around in transition because he's always so good defensively. The reality is, and Matt pointed this on Twitter, and I don't know, Matt, where are you, bro? Because I keep trying to bring you on stage, but I think your connection is something happened to your connection. You played in Benito Villamarin, one of the toughest places to play if you're Real Madrid, and you did it without Bellingham, Fede Valverde, Dani Ceballos, Raul Asensio, and yet still, even without all of that, the remaining players on the field, no excuse. Everyone was bad. Everyone was bad. I can't count how many times in transition we just made a horrible pass, and no one was immune from that. Like, how many attacks did we kill? Just a bad final ball from Vinicius, from Mbappe, from Rodrigo, from Arda Güler when he came in, from Modric, from Camavinga. Like, when they were on, no one moved the needle enough. And apart from that, literally one play. And I would argue, like, okay, we were fine. Like, our control was fine up until we scored. After that brilliant goal we scored, where Rudiger plays a surgical pass to Mbappe, who's moving between the lines, receiving the ball, and then has that moment of genius to just kind of drop his shoulder and then play that diagonal through pass to Mendy, who stays composed. Not only does he get in the final third, he stays composed to make a great square pass to Brahim. It was a fantastic goal. And then that was it. That was it. We didn't see anything else from Real Madrid after that goal, which is shocking. And I was like, are my eyes deceiving? Like, did I miss something? Like, last time I checked, and let's do a quick check. Real Betis 18 shots, Real Madrid 9 shots. And only 2 of our shots were on target. You know what's crazy? Betis is 18 shots, only 3 of those were on target. But credit to Real Betis. They ran circles around us tonight. And they were first to every 50-50 loose ball. They got in behind our defense several times. When they needed to go into a compact shell, they went into a compact shell and closed off every passing lane. They pressed aggressively to start each half. And then when they kind of like channeled and dialed back their aggressive press just to conserve energy, I assume, they went into kind of like the zonal 4-4-2 press, mid-block. Isco and that 19-year-old kid who cooked us, Jesus Rodriguez, I apologize, was great. And they would go into like just this mode where like they would cut off the passing lanes to Modric and Tchouaméni. They were cover shadowing. It just looked fantastic. I get Matt's joining from his iPhone. Matt, you're here now, I think.
All right, I'm on both, so whatever works at this point.
This is working. Yeah. So, I don't know if you heard me blabber, but I want you to kind of take over. Okay.
Yeah, I heard everything. I mean, I agree with all your sentiment. I think the most frustrating thing, like, is just zooming out. Barcelona completely capitulated earlier this season. One of the worst runs I've ever seen in my entire lifetime. My entire lifetime watching this sport, of Barca just horrendous results after peaking so early in the season. We had the opportunity to create up to a 7-point gap at one point. And now over the last, since what, the Spanish Super Cup, when we came back, like since the start of the new year, we've only picked up 5 points out of 15, I think it is, or 18. Just you can't win La Liga with that type of record. No chance. And I think all of us are thinking to ourselves, at one point, does this team ever win back-to-back La Liga titles again? And do it with the same manager? Because the last time we did it was Capella one year and then Berg Schuster the next year. So I think that's the frustrating thing. And you look, yes, we're frustrated with Ancelotti and his team selection, and it baffles all of us why at any moment he just wants to take Raul Asensio out of the team as soon as he can. Two, it's baffling. Just the individual performances. Like nobody looked like they wanted to be there today. Um, Vinicius Jr. horrible. Mbappe, he was good leading up to the goal the first 15 minutes or so, and then after that, completely disconnected. Rodrigo, maybe the best of the three, but not that's not saying much. Then the further and further back you go, it gets worse and worse. And Rudiger and Alaba just I think you mentioned it, Keon. They both were bandaged up. They both look hurt. Cucho Hernandez had his way with them. It was it was really tough to watch. Like when Kamavinga and Arda Güler came in, I was like, okay, this is their chance. This is their chance to turn the season around. This is their chance to potentially um, change a game and really change the narrative. And they didn't do anything. They did not do anything. Like I've seen some of the comments from people on here saying, "Hey, don't talk to me about Arda Güler and his need for minutes." And I kind of agree. Like he has proved nothing this season. Last season, he was incredible. Every single time he played, he looked like a special talent. Like remember, he hit the crossbar from like 50 yards out when he had like a minute to play. Like every single minute he played, he made a difference. This season, he looks very ordinary. And I'm not writing him off by any means, but it has been a very poor season. Kamavinga hasn't been able to find rhythm. It just we were on such a thin margin of error, I guess you could say, given the player. Like it had to be the starting 11 that we played against City or bust. It feels like, and then as soon as a couple players go down, it was bust. We knew that was going to happen because this team just doesn't have enough in them. And it's been so thin all season that it's just you knew the inconsistency was going to come.
I think, Matt, like we were more worried about our defensive depth this season than our attacking and our midfield depth, you know? And I think I've just been so disappointed with the depth we've had in midfield and attack. And I'm looking at Kamavinga and Goulet, who came in today, and they've had poor seasons and they haven't been able to give us that game-changing presence. And you can talk about maybe it's the game state, you can talk about like confidence or slumps or whatever, but the reality is, like, however you want to spin it, they haven't lived up to the expectations we want them to live up to. Gulera is going through some kind of sophomore slump. You just hope that it's just a matter of, growth is not linear and this is, he'll bounce back next season or whatever, but they haven't been good. Endrick, reality is he's only been good in the Copa del Rey, which is fine. I'm not going to place the blame on this kid, 18-year-old kid who's just coming in, being thrown into the fire. I think, there's a lot going through my head right now, Matt. You mentioned like the league title defense and the fact that we had such a high margin of error, like on Barca and Atletico at some point during the season. What was it? 7 points, 8 points, 9 points, 10 points? I don't know.
Some people in the comments are saying 10 points at one point. Which I don't remember, but yeah, I know we had at least 7-point opportunity.
It may have been like 10 points on Atletico, 7 points on Barca, like that, something like that, if I remember correctly. We just gave that away. Ancelotti just doesn't win back-to-back league titles. Real Madrid don't win back-to-back league titles. This is not something that we do, and I wish that wasn't the case, but it is the case. But maybe Real Madrid will just step it up against Atletico and play really well. And that's fine. Like, we can quote unquote save our form and our energy for those games. Even if that's the case, even if we do well against Atletico, I just like there's so many games like this in La Liga. I'm like, why? How about instead of saving our energy for certain things, why can't we just be consistently good week in, week out? And we just don't have that. That's a huge source of frustration for me. Listen, Matt, I wanted to ask you about the lineup and the subs in particular, because I don't think anyone played good tonight. Again, maybe you can throw Courtois in there. Courtois had an unreal save in the first half, but no one played well. I hope that Asensio getting bench had more to do with saving him for Atletico rather than him, because there's no way. He's our best defender. He's our best defender this season. And now he's like not even getting off the bench all of a sudden because he played right back and he was subbed off at halftime. He was played out of position. He doesn't play well there. You also had the whole thing where the Real Sociedad fans were chanting for him to die. So you have all that context, and he's taken off at halftime with the yellow card. And now all of a sudden, like Tchouaméni is going to be shifted to center back. You mentioned that Cucho, was giving Rudiger hell in this game. Rudiger looked like he like there was one play where he was running back in transition in the second half, and it looks like he just couldn't run. It was weird. Alaba then had like a horrendous tackle just tracking back as well, where he just flew in and just took, I think it was Anthony's legs out. Tchouaméni shifts to center back, like one of the first plays where he shifts to center back after the subs, like he just getting turned inside out by Cucho. So the center back situation is this weird thing now. Like our best defender all of a sudden is not getting off the bench, and I hope it's because he's being saved for Atletico. It's not a case of like, now Alaba's back and Rudiger's back, and that's it. See you later, Asensio. You're getting off that part. I really hope it's a case he's getting saved for Atletico. But talk me into the lineup because there's only so much Carlo could have put out with all these injuries and suspensions. But talk to me about the lineups and the subs.
Yeah, I think if Asensio starts against Atleti midweek, I think it's because of the loss. I don't think it's because he was resting him. I think it's because he will realize his mistake tonight. And because he only played, like you said, 45 minutes against Real Sociedad. There's no reason to rotate him out. If you're going to rest anyone, rest Rudiger. And so I think, yeah, again, it just feels like, I know I said it earlier, but it just feels like he's looking for any opportunity he can to try and move Asensio out of the lineup, which none of us understand. None of us understand it. I think overall, the starting 11, um, I mean, maybe his hand was forced a little bit. I was surprised Camavinga didn't start, given that you would think he's maybe going to be one of the guys selected in the midweek. But other than that, like he only had so many choices with Ceballos, Jude, and Fede all out. I think it, I think this just from a perspective of, yes, we can blame Carlo, and yes, we can be frustrated with his decisions, and but also I think we need to look at the players in this match because nobody, like you said, Keon, nobody was good. Courtois may be the only one, but nobody was good. I've been a little bit. I don't know if I'm being too reactionary here because I thought he was great against Real Sociedad, especially defensively. But I just feel like there's been a lot of games this season where Vinicius Jr. We usually, even when we see him playing poorly, he still has like two or three actions where he makes the difference. And I don't. I just feel like this season it hasn't been the same as last season. His impact overall, and maybe I'm being too reactionary from this game. But what are your thoughts on that?
So I cut out for a second, so I didn't hear everything you said. But yeah, why don't you tee it up for me because I kind of only heard that last little
Just
bit.
my question is just on Vinicius Jr. Like I don't know if I'm being too reactionary because I actually did think he played well in the last game against Real Sociedad, but I think overall this season, and you look at his body of work this season, and compare it to last year, I don't think he's been as impactful as last year. I don't think even last year when he had poor games, he still had two or three moments where he was the difference maker. And I feel like we have too many of these types of games this year where he's completely anonymous. He gets caught up in the referee or the opposing players or the fans and just he doesn't make the difference.
I thought he was bad today. I thought he was good. I thought he was fine against Real Sociedad. I thought he was good against Girona despite not scoring. Um, I
But
I
his
didn't.
season overall, how like do you compare it to last year where he was Ballon d'Or contender? In the second half, at least.
Um, the thing with that is that I think a lot of the Ballon d'Or contender stuff, like with him, with last season and possibly this season, it kind of the reason why he's so great is because his his ability to rise during the Champions League knockouts against the best teams in the world, he just went to another level last season, and for the past 3 years, quite frankly. So he can still do that again. We're about to head into it, and he was good against City over two legs. So this might be a different conversation by the end of the season, depending on how the season goes for Vinny. Um, I mean, I would agree he was more impactful last season. I think I didn't understand, like, at the end there when he was freaking out, like, what was that? Because Bartra tackled him and it was a good challenge.
Yeah,
Like,
it was
I didn't.
completely clean.
I'm like, at that point, like, you he defended you. He won the ball cleanly. We are losing. Let's just go. Like, this doesn't help us, in that situation. So yeah, there are things like that. The thing with Vinny is, like, his ceiling is so high. When things are not going well, it just, like, you want him to just be a leader in that situation. I also noted that today too. I felt like we had a lack of leadership today. Um, there was no, like, spiritual captain to, like, get our heads were gone completely from this game, and we were lacking that. Um, there was no fight. The body language was really bad. I cut out, but I was wondering if you touched on the Mbappe sub when you're needing a goal. I didn't understand taking him off.
Yeah, I didn't touch on that. I mean, yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with you there. I mean, I don't know who. I think Carlo's just trying to shake it up and bring something on, and obviously Endrick had some good form following the midweek, and so he felt like that was the person to take off. But honestly, I think it could have been anyone. Like, I think it could have been Rodrigo, it could have been Vinny, it could have been Mbappe, it could have been any of the three. So it's up to you to decide who you think is going to be the most impactful in that 90th minute, and maybe Mbappe's quality is differential enough, or Ancelotti just wanted a like for like. He didn't want to upset the balance too much.
I mean, I just, like, it felt like he felt obligated to bring Endrick on to change something. But I'm not taking Mbappe off when you need a goal in Benito Villamarin. I just not, like, his moment of his ability to just turn the game around on its head with a moment of genius is too high. I mean, he's generational for that reason. I just wouldn't. I felt it was a little bit forced, and, like, I get it. Like, you look at the bench, there was nobody there, so I get that part of it. I wanted to bring up one thing with you, and then we got to get to super chats. When I saw Lucas and I were speaking on the mailbag, and by the way, like, if you don't see us on YouTube, like, throughout, like, a few days, or you don't see any free episodes, we're active behind the scenes for our members. Go to patreon.com/managing Madrid. And if you're on YouTube, you don't have Patreon in your country, you can simply hit join underneath this video if you're on browser, or just go to the membership tab on YouTube. So Lucas and I we're doing a mailbag for our members yesterday. And I was discussing with him, like, I think with the Ceballos injury, that last spot will come down to two players, really. He's gonna have to decide. Well, today, with Jude out, and tomorrow, and against Atletico. So again, today and against Atletico. Sorry, now I've gathered my thoughts. Both today and against Atletico, we were without Jude, and we're going to be without Ceballos, right? So we know Modric is going to start because you need a ball progressor without Dani Ceballos, and Tchouameni's going to start. That last position is going to be, he has to decide: do I want an extra midfielder with Camavinga, or do I go with Brahim and put him in the Jude role? So I was curious about what he's going to do there. And today he went with Brahim in the Jude role, and I love Brahim. I obviously, like, Jude has a different two-way presence than Brahim, and just a superior level, probably to anyone in that position in the entire planet.
Yeah.
So you really also miss his absence. Against Atletico, Matt, I think it's going to be the same dilemma that Carlo has. I don't think he has enough trust in Camavinga to start him, and I don't blame him for that right now. So do you think we're just going to go with this lineup again, bar, like, hopefully Asensio sneaks in?
Yeah, I mean, I could see it. I feel like this this lineup was supposed to be kind of his preview to the midweek, but we've seen so often this season where Modric doesn't really start back-to-back games, so I don't know if he did touch on that slightly in the pre-match press conference, saying we look at the data, Modric has no problem playing back-to-back games, so maybe that's a hint that he will play. I would be surprised though. I would be surprised if Modric, who went the full 90 today, goes and starts again against Atleti. So maybe it's Camavinga in the middle and Brahim out wide.
Yeah, I mean that's a question mark. I think Modric is gonna start for sure.
You do?
Yeah, I do, because it's the profile you need. I thought like Modric in the first 15, 20 minutes before that goal was fine too. And
does he play Lucas at right back and keep Lucas at right back and Fede just goes in the middle?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's a possibility.
That's a realistic option.
I mentioned this to Lucas too. I don't care that we need Fede in midfield. Keep Lucas Vazquez off the field, please.
Yeah, I'm there.
Keep Fede at right back and just have trust in your midfielders that you have left. I don't want Vazquez on the field.
Yeah.
All right, let's do super chats. Shout out to Ali Madavan. Thank you for the super chat. Tridib Mitra, our YouTube member, says, Keon, we need to talk about Vinny. Horrific attitude. Seems to want to get past 3 people before being able to pass to anybody. Has zero chemistry with his attackers. Never passes to his fullback. So bad. This is part of the reason why I wanted to, I kind of shifted the strategy here on these YouTube lives and starting to do super chats as they come in, because I don't want to do repetitive stuff. We kind of talked about Vinny today. I mean, I think this is a situation where you can analyze it today. I don't think this is a general thing when he never has chemistry with his attackers. I don't believe that for a second.
I do think he's been this season more like heads down, trying to take 3 or 4 players on and not connecting it or making the right choice, at least in the final third. I do feel like he's almost a little bit, I don't know if more selfish is the word, but it just like he's trying to do everything on his own, it feels like.
So I don't know if selfish is the right word, but what I have noticed is that he is less quick. Like if he has a pass on, like a simple pass on, it's not appealing to him to pass to that position. What's going on through his mind is that's an easy pass. Anyone can make that pass, that Ferland Mendy overlap or simple back pass to Rudiger. The pass I want to do is, hold on a sec, that'll be on the table in 30 seconds if we want it. I'm going to slow it down and not make that pass and try to beat this guy. And then if I can, then we have a better chance that will open up as a result of that decision. I think that's what's going through his head. And I think he's doing more and more of that each possession. He hasn't made an obvious pass since 2009, I think. Like he just wants to the dagger ball, and he gets to that by dribbling past his man multiple times to get that. I think that's what's going through his head. Avuno Orenetega says, why does Rodrigo not run at defenders? Vazquez overlaps are useless in set pieces, attacking and defending if you don't press track runners. That reminded me, we didn't talk about how bad the set piece defending was today and has been even for years now.
Yeah, what happened on the goal? I couldn't even figure out who was supposed to be marking Cardoso.
I think it was Modric initially, and
I mean, that's a mismatch.
Yeah, I mean, that Cardoso guy, I thought Real Betis had a lot of players who just played really well. Cardoso, in addition to just peeling off Modric and scoring that header, was also key in disrupting attacks, playing out of the back. Betis just were impressive. I mentioned that beginning of the podcast where you were you cut up for a sec. Jesus Rodriguez, that 19-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Great first touch, great dribbling, very incisive. I mean, we should also mention Isco had a masterful performance. Yeah. Just ran circles around us, involved in both goals, looked great. Anthony was like the least of our problems. What?
Yeah. Yeah, I
uh,
mean, I watched the Betis game last weekend. I think they played Real Sociedad, and the teenager, the 19-year-old Jesus Rodriguez, was unbelievable in that game. Like he caused them so many problems. He earned a penalty. I think he had an assist. He was the best player by far. Actually, after the game, Ceballos tweeted about him because, as everybody knows, Ceballos is still a big Betis fan, and he tweeted something along the lines of like, "Do whatever it takes to sign him up onto a bigger contract."
yeah. All right. So thoughts on the actual super chat, Rodrigo? Why does Rodrigo not run at defenders? Is that true? I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, I feel like he does a lot.
I think he does. I have no problem with Rodrigo's. I think you could argue Rodrigo is like the most immune to criticism this year because you and I had a clip about this a few days ago about how underrated his defense is, how hard he works defensively. He's a bit of an unsung hero. He's the guy who makes the positional sacrifice. His line breaking has been largely good. I in this particular game, I'm going to. I'm not saying he was great, but how many touches did he get on the ball in this game? I can't be many. Like I'm let me look up his touches. We also had a function of like how many times did we actually progress the ball successfully out of the back to get the ball to him on the wing is another question too.
Well, I feel like when I think of Rodrigo's moments in this game, it's him like trying to dribble and take on three guys and having no support.
Yeah.
And maybe what this super chat is referencing is instead of dribbling at defenders, maybe he means like stretching defense and like running in behind. Because I know Rodrigo doesn't always do that, as he's more of a connective player. But yeah, I don't see an issue with him in terms of running at defenders.
He had him and Vinny both had 4 dribbles today. Rodrigo was fouled 4 times. Again, it was just like it was kind of quiet, like a quiet performance from him. Because I was even surprised when I was looking at the touches and heat maps at halftime that Rodrigo actually got on the ball as much as he did. The first time I think I noticed him in the first half is that in the 39th minute, he drops deep on the left to help escape pressure. And I'm like, oh, what are you doing there? Because Tchouaméni and Modric were not even in the picture. I don't know where they were high up the field. Rodrigo recognized that he comes all the way back, helps the team, helps Mendy escape pressure. So, yeah, the rest of the super chat, Vasquez overlaps useless. We are useless in set pieces, attacking and defending. It's 100% true. Alamin Ahmad says Ancelotti just used what happened associate that game to bench Asensio. Why does he hate this boy? Without Ceballos and Jude, Bingo, Modric, and Tchouaméni should be your starting mid.
Yeah, I mean, this is another one we touched on, and I think I kind of agree. I feel like, at least from the outside looking in, it feels like Ancelotti will take any chance he can to put Asensio on the bench.
I'm just looking at Carlos' post-game quotes to see if he actually talked about Asensio at all. He was talking about defensive work rate from the forwards and how we did that for the first 20 minutes. It is kind of weird because like those first 20 minutes were pretty fine.
Yeah,
They were good.
Yeah,
and were. Like Mbappe was. I remember one play like Tchouaméni lost the ball.
Mbappe came all the way back.
Mbappe comes all the way back, wins it back. Vinny had a couple good defensive sequences early, and then we just stopped. I didn't, and I don't know why. I don't understand that part. Carlo also said he removed Mbappe because of his tooth. So.
Okay.
I mean, it's not something that would come to my mind with regards to playing football, but okay. Maybe it was even predetermined in that sense. In that case, it is what it is. There wasn't a single clear-cut chance, I think, that we generated outside the goal.
No, and even I tweeted when Kamavinga and Arda came on, like, okay, we just went down 2-1. Like, this is 30 minutes now to try and turn this game around. And the dynamic, I think, maybe even got worse. Like, we didn't create anything. It did not at any point feel like the tide was shifting. It never ever felt like we were going to win that game.
Yeah, I mean, like these are half chances. I remember this article there one where Vinny actually, beats his man here, and then cuts it back to Arda here, and it was a very difficult chance, but it was a half chance. And then I remember the Endrick one where he shoots it into. I mean, he just doesn't connect with it at all. If you remember that, the 90th
Yeah,
minute. But
yeah.
there was really not much. So this is, I think, the play I was talking about earlier where Chouamani gets turned,
Yeah.
and I think it goes wide here. Yeah, it goes wide. So yeah. All right, let's continue with the super chats. Sagnick says Carlos shot himself in the foot and will keep doing that. I just don't understand this Asensio thing. Why would you best our best center back in a must-win game? Yeah, we talked about it. I just hope it's because he was saving him for Atletico game. If he does not start against Atletico, I will actually be at the stadium. I will do a riot. I'll start a riot. Lucas Lucas and I will be there. And Lucas and I will if you see all of a sudden there's a report fans rioting outside the stadium, it's because of me. Rocky says, when was the last time Real Madrid retained the league title?
2008.
Even during the historic three-peat. 2008 was so Capello and then Schuster.
Yeah.
So Capello wins it, gets sacked, and then Schuster comes.
Yeah. Yep.
I am Big Jones says, do we have enough of a sample size to accept this is our level? We have horrible tactics, team selection, can't play out of the back, and can't win the ball. Matt, would you say we have a low floor, high ceiling?
Definitely. You mentioned it earlier. It's the source of your frustration that we have so many of these games this season. Like, yeah, for the casuals who come in to watch Real Madrid during the big Champions League nights, they're like, "Oh, Real Madrid, it's great. They have so many talented players. Like, look how they put it together against City." And then for all of us who watch every single game, this majority of the season, 90% of the season has been pretty brutal to watch.
The only thing I think that gave me hope was those City games. And I just hope like we're not sitting here in a couple. Guys, I ordered a new cable cord for my mic to fix this cut in and out problem. It has not arrived yet. So hopefully it'll be here by today or tomorrow so I can take it to Spain with me. I'm just hoping like in a couple of weeks we're not sitting here and saying like, oh, the only reason we look good against City was because City are trash. So it was for me, it was like a bit of a tug of war, that City game. Like City are so bad. A lot of people are just outplaying them. But we looked so good that it gave me hope. But a lot of those things that gave me hope were like Ceballos, the way he played in that double pivot with Chouamani, and Raul Asensio at center back, who's on the bench right now. Those are some of the things that gave me hope.
Yeah.
All gods took Ceballos away from us, and now Raul Asensio was on the bench. So, and those were just two of the things that gave me hope. The other thing was Rodrigo on the right wing, Jude on the left wing. Look, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see is like my favorite thing to say because we'll see. We don't know.
My thing though too, just on that real quick, is like I think like you talked about Jude and Rodrigo on the wings, but the biggest part of what they did in those matches was how hard they worked defensively. And I think they're only willing to play that type of role and make those type of sacrifices in the biggest games. I don't think they're willing to do it week in and week out in La Liga. And that's the difference.
That's very possible. Yeah, that's very possible. Sering, well, and if that's the case, then in those games in La Liga, they need to be extra lethal offensively to make up for it.
Yeah.
Sering Tashi says Ceballos' injury record not our future 8. Thoughts? I mean, I don't think he is a future 8.
Well, he's been a starter.
But is he like? I
Is he
think
what?
is he like 27, 28, something like
Yeah,
that?
he's 28. So like, let's just say, I mean, he plays like this. He's a starter.
Yo, he is,
So,
but I think it's a fair point to point out like his inavailability due to like injuries
oh
and
yeah, 100% agree. Like, yeah, I think he is too. Like, I would say him in the form he was in the last few months is a starter at Madrid. But because of his injuries, I think that's probably what's going to hold him back. Because
yeah,
this is not a new phenomenon. It feels like every time Ceballos does start to get going, he gets an injury and it sets him back.
yeah. Ancor Giotti Bordeloy says passing looked bad today. Lots of players caught wrong-footed, and sometimes there were no easy passing lanes, even when Betis weren't pressing. This is where coaching comes into play. We can't just really rely on individual stars. I agree. I mentioned something to about this. That like even when Betis dialed off their press, they cut off passing lanes so well. They basically like Isco would hover between man marking Chouameni and between him and the two Hernandezes. They would cut off passing lanes even when they weren't aggressive pressing, and we didn't find a solution. You know, and we had enough of that sample size by halftime to make an adjustment. We did not make an adjustment at all, and like we've already discussed, the subs did not change the game at all. Sohail Biria says, "Thank you guys for this therapy." Hala Marid, hey man, the one thing you can count on us for is therapy. We're here. Win, lose, draw, no matter what. We are here regardless. Matt, I'm gonna ask you if you have anything that you feel like we've omitted. The goal was so good, Matt. 19 according to Opta Jose, 19 passes leading to the goal, the most for a Real Madrid away goal this season in La Liga.
I
It
didn't
was a
realize
great
that.
it was a great goal, and that was it. There was nothing outside the goal to talk about from a
Yeah,
positive way.
yeah. I mean, I liked Mbappe in that goal, especially his ability to turn, carry the ball, and then the vision. I tweeted out that I thought it was actually Benzema esque and that he really is adapting to that number 9 role. But yeah, outside of that moment, it was, and outside of the first like 15 minutes or so, it was just awful.
Uh, Goulet just seems like soft to me.
Yeah,
Like he's soft on the ball.
that's what I've always worried about with him is just the physical piece, and like it almost feels like he's one of those players. We've had these players so many times, right? With Asensio, James, even Isco to a degree that like they're this hybrid winger 10. They don't really fit as a winger, but they don't really fit as a center midfielder. And with him especially, like he really lacks the physical tools. And so you just because he doesn't have that, he's not like exceptionally fast that he can play as a winger, and so at least not in a traditional sense. And so that's what I worry about with him is like we've had so many of these players and it never really works out. And so I think we're just gonna have to take the season as hey, second season, he's 19. Like I think it's easy to forget how young, or 20, he just turned 20. And for him, like he's not meant to be a Madrid uh, role player right now. Like that's not what he's going to be. Maybe in 2 to 3 years he can become that player like a Brahim or like a Guti was. If he ever becomes a Real Madrid starter, he's going to need to make serious developmental leaps, both physically and just overall. But I do think like the time will come where he could have a relevant role, but it's not now. It's clear that it's not now.
Yeah, this season was a step back. It was a regression for him, no question. Um, and Lucas and I did talk about it yesterday a little bit, but like this season he actually looks good with Turkey. And I think part of that is that like with Turkey, and look, we haven't had international breaks, thank God, much this season. We haven't had one in a while. I think we got one coming up soon, but at least like I think with part of the with Turkey is that everything flows through him. So like it's like
Yeah.
situational confidence. You know, when you feel like you're the main man of you're the main playmaker, you just play differently. Here, I think he's just lacking a lot of confidence in that sense.
Well, and I'm seeing people say in the comments like, "Oh, what's the artist supposed to do? He's got no match rhythm." My pushback on that is like, what was Asensio supposed to do?
Right.
Raul Asensio comes in and literally thrown in Militao ACL injury. First thing he does is play a 70-yard inch perfect long ball to Jude Bellingham on his debut in the Santiago Bernabeu. Like when you're a young player at Real Madrid, yeah, you're not going to get match rhythm. You're not going to get chances. You have to take your chances when it comes. And that's my pushback on that. It's like, yeah, I get it. You need like but at the same time, you just have to take your chance. Like you only get so many chances. Today was the perfect example. He had 30 minutes to try and transform this game and pull off a Guti, and he didn't do it.
This is true, but also it's funny we're having that conversation about Goulet because Goulet was in that situation last year and did make an impact in his minutes.
Yeah,
like, what
I
is he
agree.
supposed to do? He
I agree.
did, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. And so that's why I kind of factor in the sophomore slump. And I wonder next season.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying don't write him off. But
Yeah.
this season, I'm kind of writing off.
And I kind of wonder next season, will Asensio go through a slump? And, it's possible. Like, again, the growth is not linear it's not always that straightforward.
Yeah.
2 super chats at the buzzer. Actually, there's like 5 super chats at the buzzer. SP says, for all the talk of our midfield depth, it's a pity to see how much we lack creatively. This is true. I mean, I think we've talked about it. The kind of controller when Jude's not on the field. Ceballos out. This is all, our midfield depth, by the way, it's kind of gone. Like all the creative depth is gone, Cruz left. Ceballos is injured. Modric is old. Jude is suspended right now, so you can really feel it extra. Zeppelin says, I cannot for the life of me endure another season with Ancelotti as the coach. Like Mbappe, we are toothless. That's a good joke. I respect that.
One thing I'll say on this coaching front, like, hey, if Ancelotti isn't the coach next season, whoever is the coach, we need somebody to put in place a little bit better structure and discipline on these players because we can't have the same thing happened last year. We can't afford to have guys like Jude and Vinny missing games due to suspension. It happens way too often. And it comes down to just like their mouth and their attitude. And yes, we know how frustrating it is with these referees, and sometimes you can't blame them. But at the same time, like they're too important to be missing games through suspension.
I mean, I agree with you. I mean, obviously the Jude red card though was pretty damn harsh. We'll say that. The one thing I will say, we have had so many conversations about this with Ancelotti and tactics. He himself, his ex-players have spoken about how he's very simple with his tactics. He doesn't have really tactics in that sense. He is a guy who empowers players, kind of playing with freedom, which gives you a high ceiling in some situations if you have a lot of stars in your team. But I think there are games, and we've seen it today. We saw it against Barca twice, where if you're getting outplayed tactically, sometimes there are no answers. And I think that's part of what happened today. The Ancelotti cycle is the team plays poor for large stretches of the season. We scrape through, we win the Champions League, and then everyone says, we told you so, be patient with Carlo. And then every second year, we're just really bad. So we're in year 4 now, so you can do the math of what cycle we're in.
Yeah.
Sagnik says, so what do you guys think will be the team against Atleti? Early predictions. Also, Isco is a gift to football. Magician, the best player on the pitch.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, we could have used Isco tonight in a Real Madrid shirt. Yeah, I think we talked about it, Letty. I personally think Camavinga will start. So I think it'll be a similar lineup, but I think Asensio will start for Alaba, and I think Camavinga will start in midfield for Modric, and then I think all else is probably the same.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right. Rocky says, Keon and Matt, 204 million? 204 million on Saliba and Gabriel to complete our super team. I feel like we really need to strengthen this summer as teams like City, for example, will be a lot stronger with Wirtz. Hold on. Two things. We're not signing a center back. And since when is Florian Wirtz going to City? Is that a thing? Did I
Not
miss
that
some
I've
news?
seen.
All right. We're not signing a center back, guys, this summer. We're just not. We have 4 center backs under contract that are not going anywhere. And we're going to develop Jean Martinez and Jacobo Ramon. We're not signing a center back. Just preparing you guys right now. I think we'll try to sign a right back. That's it. Nishlesh Patil says, something looked off. Was the pitch super waterlogged because of the rain? Everyone looked sluggish, but did so. I'm surprised we didn't mention the rain. Part of me, I think, subconsciously refrained from mentioning the rain because it may come off as an excuse because Real Betis had to deal with rain as well.
Yeah.
So, but, the pitch, I'm sure, wasn't perfect for passing, but, Real Betis didn't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, my friend, I think this is the end of the podcast. I don't have too much else to say about it. Horrendous, one to forget. Everyone was bad. Every player was bad. The coach was bad. And I'm tired of therapy sessions.
Yeah.
So what you guys need to know now is that Lucas and I are both going to be at the Bernabeu on Tuesday to cover Real Madrid's game against Atletico in the Champions League together. We're going to do as much live streaming as we can from the Bernabeu, both before and after the game. Matt, any concluding thoughts before we wrap it up here?
No, I mean, we have no choice but to move on, think about Atleti, focus on the Champions League, and just hope Barca and Atleti drop points in La Liga at this point.
Yeah. It's officially out of our hands now.
Yeah.
We have to win everything, that's in our hands, but now we have to also rely on Barca and Atletico to drop points. So, yeah. And I also just wanted to give a quick just gratitude to you guys for putting up with my mic situation, the connection issues. Hopefully that'll be all fixed by next podcast, with a new cable coming in for my mic and all that stuff. So thank you guys for putting up with that, and apologies for that. And one more super chat at the buzzer. Ancor Giotti says, grass too long, rain too wet. We're better than that. Agree. Yeah, agree. All right. Awesome. Thank you guys. Matt, thank you. We'll talk soon. Yeah. See you guys on Tuesday. Actually, yeah. I think Monday we're going to do actually a pregame show from Valdebebas. So we'll see you guys Monday. Okay. Thanks, guys. Take care. Peace out. Thanks, Matt.